You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe. This is episode 13, season 15 of the podcast. In this episode, we're just talking some WNBA, but before we get into that, let me just give you some rundown of where I've been the past few weeks. This is my senior year of college and taking summer classes. And the commitment to finishing your assignments and staying on time is a priority. So I apologize if you've not seen me the last few weeks or you've seen WNBA content uploaded on the channel. That's going to change. We'll have that content out as soon as possible. Episode 12, I did with Brenden Potts a few weeks ago, week 4. That was not uploaded, but that will be uploaded. So I apologize for being behind on getting content out to y'all. Summer classes are getting ready to wrap up in 2 weeks. And then the 2 weeks after that, we'll be definitely ready to talk some basketball and all that. But season 15 will most likely come to an end before training camp comes to an end for football. So I get the NBA draft grades, NFL preview, all those things. So we're still gonna have all that content out for you. But in the meantime, again, I sincerely apologize, and we'll have all season 15 episodes uploaded on Spotify via Anchor. That's all we're up to season 14. And also to please continue to support. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube page. Appreciate the support that I've been getting. Again, I sincerely apologize, but we are back. In this episode, I cannot do it alone. Again, going to bring on Brenden Potts, like I've said it before, I'll say it again, at this point is a co-host of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Brenden Potts. Brenden, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, man. I hope you're doing well. I'm excited to talk some WNBA basketball. We got a lot to get into.
Yes, absolutely. This is week 6 of the season. It's been last time you saw us was actually 2 weeks ago, week 4. A lot has happened since then. Let's just really get into it. Quick thoughts. Yesterday, I have to go back and look at the tape. I did not have an opportunity to watch the Mystics game, but I am aware that we lost to York Liberty in overtime. There's a lot of things that happened, and we're actually getting into that. But overall, it seemed like a pretty decent week. The All-Stars were announced, and while I was surprised who made the All-Star team, I thought the votes were actually pretty accurate. I am surprised Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner were not by the fans, at least in the top 10, in my opinion. I'm happy for Aaliyah Boston. Congratulations, rookie, to make the All-Star team, especially for the Indiana Fever. It was fair for the most part. I think the media's mostly got it right. Brittany Griner's an exception. So, but for the most, I thought it was a fair All-Star response. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, two things stick out to me, and then I have a question for you. One of the things that that stuck out to me, obviously you mentioned it. I think Alyssa Thomas was the biggest snub in terms of starters. These were the starters that were announced, and I think I love Aaliyah Boston being selected as well, but I wouldn't have been surprised if I saw Alyssa Thomas over Aaliyah Boston. Just my opinion there, but I did put Aaliyah Boston as a starter. So, and then my second thing was to piggyback off of Brittany Griner. I get the situation that she was in, and the situation that she's coming into this year. But to say that she's like a full blown exception is, I'd push back a little bit, just because she actually does lead the league in blocks, and she's playing really well this year, and I think that's really special just because of the circumstances that she went through. So she's having a great year, but she's not a quote unquote like charity case when it comes to being a starter in the All-Star game. And then shout out to Jewel Lloyd, the WNBA's leading scorer this year, and Seattle Storm star for being an All-Star starter. That just shows how well respected she is in this league. So I'm super happy for her. And then my question for you, what did you think the results came, like the breakdown of the results came out? What do you personally think about Sabrina Ionescu being voted 19th among the players?
I think it just goes to show she's not really truly. She's rubbed a few heads the wrong way. I think she's putting on this villain role that I'm not really. I don't know why. I watched that Atlanta Dream game, only scored 8 points and didn't do much.
Yeah.
I think she's a great player. I mean, let me just say this, when she's a consistent scorer,
Yeah.
I think she's a top 10 guard, but she's had up and down games this season, and that's just not, to me, that's not an all-star.
That's the thing. That's the thing for me this year with Sabrina is the inconsistency. If we can get that consistency this year, then New York can really take that next step, and so can Sabrina. So that was just my question. I actually watched the New York Washington game yesterday, and one of the best games I've seen as a WNBA fan. So that was a great game to watch.
Sure.
And yeah, Sabrina she looked a lot like she did again when she played Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
She just shot the lights out of the building, but like I said earlier, she has those games where she'll shoot the lights out, and then she'll have another game where she just doesn't make a shot at all. So
I'm actually surprised. Well, I'm looking at this, Diana Taurasi actually made the All-Star team.
These are just the starters. The reserves are on July 1st.
This or July 1st. Okay.
Yeah.
The starters I have no problem with.
Yeah.
I mean, you can really make a case for all of them to be a starter. I still think, though, if you're watching the games, Alyssa Thomas should be a starter.
She now leads the all time in triple doubles.
But again, it's I don't think it's about the triple doubles. It's about
no, but she's having a good year. Other than that,
I understand that, but if you look at it, it's Connecticut. You know how the narrative of Connecticut is. They don't have the scoring. If you look, their three top scorers were Brianna Jones, DeWanna Bonner, and Alyssa. So I feel like Connecticut, even when the votes first came out, I was appalled that no Sun was in the top 10. At least should have been. You can't tell me there are 10 players better than Alyssa Thomas if you're a fan. That's crazy.
yeah.
I mean, for the most part, I have no problem with the starters. And Nafisa Collier, you can make a case could have been a starter. But I'm actually not mad at this. I'm not mad at this list. So congratulations to those that were selected as starters for the All-Star team. I'm excited. So let's move into week 6. Week 6 is off to an interesting start. Number 12, the Phoenix Mercury. Ironically, Vanessa Nygaard coached her last game against your Seattle Storm. Vanessa was fired after a 17-31 tenure as head coach. There's a couple things that I think everybody should take into consideration. Okay, so we are aware of what happened with Brittany Griner after being wrongfully detained in Russia back in last year, in February 2022, and missed the whole season. They had signed Tina Charles, and that ended in a contract divorce. Let's just keep it real. Something between Diana Taurasi and Skylar Diggins occurred throughout the season, and neither of them played in the playoffs. This is a team that's coming off a finals appearance the year before and lost in the first round of Vegas. I really, really think Vanessa was not the coach for this team. Let's keep it real. The most experience she has is high school. I think they really could have went in a better direction looking for a different coach, because you got to understand a couple things. You're dealing with personalities. I just think she just did not. I don't think she has the personality to deal with players on the professional level. And yes, granted, not having a full healthy roster, yes, that makes a difference. There's just something there that just didn't click. Sure, BG's back, but I mean, Washington played Phoenix, and some of her answers to the questions are just like, you need to look back at the tape and all this other stuff. Most coaches in the W will, I'll give you an example. Eric Tebow. Some have criticized that he should not be a head coach, but he will let you know when the team's playing good, bad, win, lose, or draw. But Coach Nygaard has never done that. So what are your thoughts on her no longer being head coach?
Yeah, hey, I told everyone, I said I said from the get-go that she should not be the head coach for Phoenix. I as well as everybody else gave her a pass this last year, just because of the circumstances that they went through with Brittany Griner and all that stuff. So, and she still managed to get her team into the playoffs. So that's a big win for Phoenix. But I told everyone, now that Brittany Griner's back and she's playing well, the magnifying glass gets bigger as it's ever been on Vanessa Nygaard. And the only thing I was wrong about was I thought she was going to last the whole year, which she didn't even last a quarter of the year, which really really makes you wonder what's going on in Phoenix. But I'll give you another example of what you talked about in her press conferences. She said after Seattle, I think at one of her last press conferences, she was asked about Skylar Diggins-Smith and whether she thinks she's going to return to the team or not. And she just kept saying she's on maternity leave. She's absent because of maternity leave. She just kept, you know, it's the worst way of on to Cincinnati you can get, and it just makes you wonder how Nygaard made it this far, and it's you could say it's a real downgrade from Sandy Brondello to Vanessa Nygaard. So that I think that's one of the biggest reasons why you talk about they went to the finals 2 years ago and then they barely made the playoffs last year to they lose their head coach. I think that's a big reason why going from Sandy Brondello to Vanessa Nygaard, why that was such a big downgrade. But I hope that Phoenix needs a fresh start, and by what I mean by that is a fresh face in the locker room, whether that's the current interim right now or another coach down the road. They need like what Indiana's getting in Christie Sides or what Dallas is getting with Trammell. They just need a fresh face in the locker room to just kind of reset and get back to where they used to be.
Well, you know, for the most part, also too, you got to understand this is a new ownership too, as well, because the previous ownership sold the team for more than what he bought, which is ironically interesting. But I think I also keep saying this too. I think when you look for a head coach, I think some also depends on the players. You got to have a coach that speaks the language of the locker room. And when you look at Vanessa, if she was a college, maybe an assistant, it's different. But her resume doesn't go any further than high school. Like that's a big difference. You know, you're dealing with personalities, and you last year, you know, Skylar Diggins, who I believe made the All-Star team, she publicly supported Diana Taurasi. And we all saw Skylar was visibly upset about that, retweeting on Twitter. So you brought up the fresh start. I'm just a little concerned more about their long-term plans because you invested in Diana Taurasi another 2 years, and she hasn't been out there consistently. Injuries. I don't really know where Skylar Diggins is now in terms of does she want to play for Phoenix or does she want to move on? I don't know the long-term plan for Phoenix. So it's either win now or we just restart all over again, as you stated. But there was a lot of issues there. And I think losing by 23 was just the final nail in the coffin.
I agree with you. I want to play one round of name game because one name just came to my head. I'll just say one name and you tell me what you think for Phoenix's next head coach.
Okay.
Pokey Chapman.
I'm not mad at that.
That's the kind of coach that I'm talking about. She's fiery on the sidelines. She's been a head coach before. Mm-hmm. She's been a great head coach before. And I think when you talk about assistants moving into head coaches, the first name that comes up is Pokey Chapman. And I think she would be a great, although I would hate for her to leave Seattle, I would love for her to get a head coaching job in Phoenix. I think it's you talk about coaches speaking the language of the players. Yep. Can you imagine a fiery personality in Pokey Chapman interacting with Diana Taurasi?
Well, again, I don't really know. Pokey would be a good coach, but here's the thing that they have to do. I I think Phoenix, first and foremost, roster-wise construction, is just going to have to fix some things because they're last in scoring defense, if I'm saying that correctly. They're 10th in offense. They've been outscored by at least 130 more points. And even with Griner before her hip injury, they're not looking too fantastic. So let's see what they look like with Nikki Blue. Let's give her another chance. I mean, I feel like let's get through the season first. Let's see what it looks like.
Right.
But also too, and I might get some flack for this, but in defense of Coach Nygaard, there were a lot of teams last year too that had the same thing going on off the court. Just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
11, Minnesota. We only played. They went 1-on-1. Beat Los Angeles, and then lost to Connecticut. So Nafisa Collier, who I think should be in the MVP conversation. I feel like it was just a much needed. This was a good week for them. It was a short week. I really haven't seen too much from Minnesota that makes me go, okay. I mean, yeah, they're 3-0 against Los Angeles, but I mean, you look at the schedule, they're 1-9. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'll get a good look the next couple of games because we play them the next 2 games. But I mean, just from what I'm looking at the box scores, they tend to beat Los Angeles except that one game on the 11th. But Connecticut's a good team. They lost by more than 20. So I mean, record-wise, they are rightfully near the bottom. But I'll make sure to get a good look at them these next 2 games as we match up against them.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Same thing. So I really don't see anything really spectacular with them going on. I think they got. Let me see. Look at their schedule. And you face them, and then Phoenix again. So, that should be interesting. Number 10, Dallas. I think Dallas right now is in a bit of a funk, a little bit. Their shooting has been not as great. Satu Sabli, they were 1-5. I wrote this down. She's averaging 14.5 points shooting on 35% shooting. Hold on. Let me find that clip.
Mm-hmm. I can't defend that. Mm-mm. What do you want me to say to that?
I'm a little concerned with this Dallas team because I'm a fan of Coach Trammell.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't this the same team that minus Kalani Brown, who I think actually I'm holding my thought on that one. This is practically the same team. You don't have Marina Mabry and Alicia Gray. Coach Trammell's focus is as a coach, she's a defensive-minded coach, right? I haven't seen that. They're too inconsistent. I need some consistency. Like the shooting, quarter to quarter, that's not a consistent team. I mean, to lose last 5 of your 6, 3 of those Los Angeles. They have the talent. I have a couple people. I know some people that asked this question for. I don't know if it's just there are certain lineups that need to be adjusting. Excuse me. I'm shocked. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat, and I'm glad that you brought up Trammell and the defensive minded head coaching thing, because to start off, the 17th we played them, we matched up against them, and it was a Enrique and Jewel shooting fest, and it was a fun game. But your defensive minded head coach gave up 109 points, and then followed up with 73 against the Dream, and then 76 against the Sparks, and then 93 against the Sparks. But the 76 was a loss. And then, so you're talking about that inconsistency with Dallas, and I just feel like it could be more of a team running through two players in Satu Sabali and Enrique. And we've seen in years past when a team runs through Enrique and solely Enrique-centric offense, then it may be good in the short term, but it doesn't end up doing well in the long term.
I agree. Oh my gosh, because I don't know where the team was from the first 6 games. I need them to find their form real quick. I mean, I don't at this point. I don't count Phoenix because that's a mess. Washington, I know they're looking for revenge. So I let me see what they look like these next 2 games. But I really do think I've heard shout out to a couple people who do cover the Dallas Wings, Jasmine, writer for Windsor, and Christian, who also covers them as well. They have, particularly Christian, he has talked about just Enrique. He feels like it starts with her, and the talent. They have so much talent, and I love that the pick of Claudia Brown. I'm gonna say this: the Washington Mystics missed out on signing her, and I feel like we're going to regret that for the short term. But I got to get that together.
So you don't think the Mercury can be a get back game for the Wings, or are you counting that at all as like a get right game just because of the mess that Phoenix is in?
Oh, they lost to Seattle. They lost to you guys. They lost by 23 points.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I like? I can see if BG was out there healthy, Diana's out there healthy, but I mean, it's practically that lineup is just weird to look at. I mean, when I mean weird, it's you've got guards playing 4s and 5s, like Michaela Onyeweere and Sophie Cunningham, Breonna Turner, Satin, like Mariah Jefferson, like no disrespect, but that's a line that you're not fearing. I mean, they're going up against. I think they should be starting together, but it wouldn't work in terms of. I think they would clog up the lane. Kalani Run, Terry McCallum, like that's not fair. It's not. Number 9. This is your team, buddy. Seattle. Number 9 on this so far. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Seattle. It's been a good stretch the last couple of weeks. I really like something that's been encouraging the last or really the whole season is how competitive we've been in, I'd say, all of our games except 2, and those were the 2 that we played against the Aces, and even in the second game we were competitive until the second half started, but I mean, individually, Jewel Lloyd has been on a tear. She leads the league in points per game. And then another player that's been doing really well this year, Ezzy McBagor. I would personally put Ezzy McBagor in the mix for Defensive Player of the Year, and I would put Jewel Lloyd in the mix for MVP as well, because they've just been playing exceptionally well. One of the players that really stuck out to me, though, from outside of the last two was Ivana Dojkic. I think we found our new point guard, and she has been developing over the year. Noelle Quinn has said many times that she's a rookie, but she doesn't play like a rookie because she has 9 years of pro experience, and that really helps, especially as a young player. She's 25, so I think she's the oldest rookie, but she's starting to look like that point guard that we need, and that really helps down the line in a rebuilding team. This team has a bright future, and they're really showing it early on in the season. But the thing that I've been really encouraged about with the Seattle Storm team is they've been competitive in every single game. It's just a matter of getting over the hump, and I think the difference is the experience between the two sides. So it's like Noelle Quinn has said, it's a process.
I have a question for you. I read an article. It was about maybe a few days ago. Should Noelle Quinn be on the hot seat?
You know, that's a great question, because I thought that a couple of weeks ago, if you told me, like, if you asked me that question a couple of weeks ago, I would have had that same thought. But I think it's organization based, right? Like they choose whether or who their head coaches are, and I think Seattle knows the problem, or they know what they need to do, and I don't think changing head coaches is one of them. I think the argument for Noelle Quinn being on the hot seat is she is not particularly good at end of game situations, but the fact that we are finding, I mean, we've played 13 games this year with a new squad. I think looking at the roster, only 3 players were from last year's roster that are on this current roster. So it's a brand new team, and 13 games in, we've only had 2 games where we haven't been competitive, and it was against a team that we're going to talk about later that's a tier above the rest. So I completely understand where you are coming from. I was there a couple of weeks ago, but this team knows the direction that they're going, and they're already off to a great start, knowing that direction.
No, I'm agree with you. No, she should not be on the hot seat. I don't think so. I just was curious because I just saw an article and I thought that was just crazy. Let's move on to number 8, the Chicago Sky. We beat them about a week or so ago. Losing to us and then Connecticut. They've lost 6 games in a row. I think that's the most in their franchise history. They have a tendency to turn the ball over quite a bit. And if you've paid attention, the last 3 games, including us, they've turned the ball over at least 19 times. And that will simply not win you basketball games.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord.
You got the floor. What's your thoughts on Chicago?
I mean, you kind of nailed it on the head. But the only things that I'll say about Chicago is I like the individual play from Kalea Copper, and I think I hope she's an all-star because I would love to see her in that conversation. But we actually haven't played Chicago yet. We play them the 22nd of July,
Okay.
so that's our first meeting with them. So it'll be a good opportunity to get a real good look at them. But you look at the situation that Chicago's in. They lose their star player in Candace Parker, and they kind of fell flat from that. Injuries haven't helped, but it's definitely not the right direction that they were started to
Hoping
go in.
for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That they started going into the first couple weeks of the season.
Yep. I'm in agreement. Number 7, the Atlanta Dream. I think they're starting to pick it up a little bit more. They've on a 3-game win streak. Um, I mean, they lost to Dallas and then New York. No, excuse me. They were on a 3-game winning streak, and then they lost to Dallas and New York. Um, I mean, they played New York. I think it was the third time in 15 days. I think that was it. I remember watching that game. They had no answers for their offense, and they gave up 17 3-pointers as a cohesive unit.
What was that? What the hell was that? I'm sorry the H words and the D words aren't appropriate over the airwaves, but it's going to be today. I don't know how much more of this I can take. How in God's name?
And then, ironically, this week they start a 6-game stretch where we have to play them twice in Chicago and Los Angeles. This should be fun for Atlanta. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we play them on the 12th. But yeah, just to get the Liberty 3 times in I think you said 15 days.
Yes.
And then so one of those meetings they lost by 20, and then they ended up beating New York. They scored 86. They didn't allow 80 for New York, and then just they got crapped on Friday, and just the discrepancy between those three, it really shows an up and down year. But they have some good quality wins. They beat Connecticut, who's a good team. They competed with, or they beat Chicago, and they lost a couple of meetings between a team that we're going to talk about later in Indiana. But it's kind of an up and down year, more down for Atlanta. So I hope they can pick it up as the season goes on.
There's something also that also came to my mind. It was after the New York game. Tanisha Wright made some comments about the officiating. I am in the same boat. The officiating this season has been awful. It's been egregious. If you're going to call something on one end, be consistent. All I'm asking for is consistency. I know each officiating crew calls things differently, but my God, I have some of these fouls I watch. Oh God.
Going back to Seattle, I'd like to quote a very funny and very accurate tweet by our Jewel Lloyd. She said, quote, "I didn't like it, so I didn't call the foul. That's what the ref would say." And she said, Siri, play In My Feelings by Drake. Absolutely nailed on the head. This reffing needs to change.
That was a good one. That was good. As we transition to number 6, the Los Angeles Sparks. They're 500. Beating Dallas, Friday. Hey, NECA being named All-Star. This is our eighth time should we make the All-Star team. Destiny Henderson. She's averaged 8 points so far with the Sparks. Big boost from her Friday night. Needs to be signed, in my personal opinion, for the rest of the season. Just her ability to get in paint, finish through contact, all those things, aggressiveness on defense. I really thought that was good. And just even when they were down, I think 1.17, just her composure was really something. And just being fiery. I love that about her. And that was actually really if I had to do a player of the week, because that she played a big role in that comeback.
Yeah. I have a question for you regarding NECA. Are you putting her in the MVP conversation? Like, is she up there for you?
Yes, she's a top 5 MVP. Yes.
I agree. Okay. That's all I have to say about LA, because you basically nailed it
Sure.
on the head.
Sure. This is actually a surprise for most. Some Indiana made the top 5 this week for me. I beating Seattle and then losing to Vegas painfully, but they made Vegas work. They were only down. They were up 1 going in the second half. And that's only really their second double-digit loss of the season, if I'm saying that correctly. Melissa Smith had a double-double in that game. Did Aaliyah play in that game? I can't remember. But I remember Melissa had a double-double. But it was a good week for them. They've been picking it up. I was concerned, and look, I apologize to the Indiana people. I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, it's not going to be a pretty season. There's going to be some struggles. And you talked about needing a coach like Christy Sides. Like, they have been just playing well. And you could see it starting to come together for them. I'm really proud of them.
Yeah, you really can. And I think I've talked about when mentioning the Fever, I've talked about if they build the way that Seattle has over the years, keep the young players on their team, develop them, and it's going to be a long process, but they're going to be they have a team where they're going to be up there. And this kind of season that they're having, they had 5 wins all of last year. In a less than 40 game season, they had 5 wins. Now they have 5 wins, 13 games in the season. So that shows how far they've already made progress, or how much progress they've made. Yeah, most, if not some of it, is due to Aaliyah Boston. She's been playing out of her mind this year, but they have talented players around her. And right now, if Indiana goes to the playoffs, which I think they can, and if you look at the standings right now, they're actually in the playoffs if they started today. If they make the playoffs, I would say Christy Sides is in my Coach of the Year conversation. Absolutely.
I would agree with that.
Yeah,
I would definitely agree with
absolutely.
that for sure. You got to put her in there. Yeah, for sure. And Leah Boston, without a shadow of a doubt, Rookie of the Year.
Would you put her in right now, Christy Sides?
Let me see what it look like second half of the season.
Right, because I thought about that, and then I said, no, let's see if they can get to the playoffs.
Let's see what they look like in the second half of the season.
Right.
Before we get into the last 4 teams of this week, let's get into the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk podcast, and that is Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? You can and you will with Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
You can most certainly do that with a nice 15% off using my code BIGNATE for 15% off your final purchase for Zagnif Apparel. Thank you for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk podcast. We're going to go right into the last 4. Painfully, they have staying at number 4 and they haven't moved. Washington Mystics. First, a little background. All I know for this week, Shakira Austin, we will have probably by tomorrow. Tomorrow's Tuesday. At the latest, we'll know more for the post-practice media availability for Coach Eric. She injured her hip. She was carried off in the fourth quarter. Blew a 17-point lead, lost in overtime to the New York Liberty. I thought the win by Chicago by 21 points was pretty good. That was our 4th straight victory. Had an 8-point lead. And then all of a sudden we just looked bad. So I'm going to have a separate video on the Washington Mystics first quarter, the first 10 games, really up to this point. I have to make a video on this. My patience is starting to really run, and I'm going to save that more for the video. But we have Atlanta this Wednesday and Friday, and then Dallas Sunday. And I do have an announcement regarding the game against Phoenix on the 21st. So that's a home game, but I'm going to wait until next month to make that announcement. Any thoughts on Washington?
Yeah, it's unfortunate to waste. It's a game they should have won yesterday. I watched the second half of that game, and they looked good in the first half. But the thing that I wanted to say about Shakira Austin is last I heard they were calling it a hip strain, and I'm telling you, if it's a hip strain, I actually back in January. I slipped on some ice and I landed right on my hip and I ended up spraining it. I couldn't walk. I couldn't walk. And it took me a long time it took me about a week and a half to actually gain like full, like up to walking strength. And even then I was limping a lot. And if this is a hip strain, then I'm not saying I'm a professional athlete or anything, but if this is a hip strain, I would be worried about her missing a couple of weeks.
Sure.
I just heard what this injury was, and I'm just speaking from experience that I had at the beginning of the year. So that's my only thing on Shakira Austin. So I hope she I saw the injury. I saw her go down. I thought it would have been a lot worse. So I'm glad it's just I'm glad it's just what they're calling it right now.
Sure. Yeah, most definitely. I have one player in mind if she's going to be out for a couple weeks. Alana Coates. I think that would be an interesting signing. We're going to just do the last 3 too. Quick take. Number 3, New York Liberty. I mean, it pretty much isn't nothing. I mean, they came back and beat us in overtime. I mean, Steffi Dolson did suffer an ankle injury. She'll be out for a few weeks. But I need Jonquel Jones to really, really step it up. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. We'll see. But, I mean,
It looked like to me Jonquel Jones was in the doghouse yesterday. And Sandy Brondello kind of said she went to players who had better strength and could pull their weight yesterday. She used different terms, but but that kind of says something with Jonquel Jones and how this fit is with New York. I said I've been saying with New York, they're a team with great superstar players that's playing like a team with great superstar players, not a super team like Las Vegas is. That's why I'm saying Las Vegas is a tier above the rest of these teams that we're about to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Number 2, Brianna Jones. Saturday, it was announced that she will miss the rest of the season with a ruptured Achilles.
I mean, damn!
I mean, that's pretty much it. I was upset. I didn't even go. I was off social media for the whole weekend because I was praying it was not what I thought it would be. I've actually seen that injury, watching it close in person, where a community college I went to watched the basketball player, literally saw it happen, and I was kind of thinking it was the same. I said that's the same thing. So prayers up to her. Wish her a speedy recovery. But hey, this is where I need Tiffany Hayes, Natisha Heidemann, Rebecca Allen, Ty Harris, Livia Nelson-Odata, Ty Harris. I need everybody to step up.
Yeah.
Because Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner, I got to step it up.
No, I saw that injury. It was against Seattle. It was against us. And I just felt so bad as she was getting carried off the floor. I just felt so bad, and I mean, I wasn't there, but you could hear a pin drop, and it's so unfortunate. But like I said with or like you said, I players need to step up, and these. To keep the team afloat where they are, they need to step up, and I believe they will. Connecticut's been on a roll. They've looked like the second best team in the league, so they need other players to step up. My question is, where's Dejanay Carrington? Like, she hasn't been.
Ask Stephanie White that question.
Yeah, she hasn't been in the rotation. I think she should get some minutes because she's a scrappy player. And I mean, so I just think she should I mean, in the game against us, she only had 13 minutes. But she hasn't been getting consistent playing time. So I just think Dejanay Carrington should get more playing time and more opportunity, especially with this injury.
Yeah, I've noticed that quite a bit across the league, that we're not really truly utilizing our benches, excuse me, and that's a little concerning because down the stretch you're going to need these players,
right?
And I think the loss that hurts them. They got to find somebody, and one thing that comes to mind, I think you got to make it right. You got to get your former franchise star back. It was Tina Charles. but it's going to be some money. Number 1 is Las Vegas. I mean, they're 12-1. I mean, other than that, I mean, really isn't much to say.
Yeah, there's nothing much to say. I mean, they're 12-1 really doesn't explain how much better than everybody else they are. They're just a tier above. I've said it the whole episode. They're a tier above the rest. And
pretty much.
It's taken other teams to realize that. Like, I don't want to pick on New York, but we're dealing with the quote unquote super teams era, and it's really just, you can see the difference between a team of really good players and a super team. And that's what Vegas is. They're just a tier above the rest. I will give a shout out to Candace Parker. She's been playing, getting into the thick of things with her role and figuring that out and where she is on this team. And then Jackie Young, she's been playing. I mean, Vegas could have 2 MVPs in the conversation with Vegas, Jackie Young, but that's just.
Don't forget the resurgence of Kelsey Plum too.
Yeah, and Chelsea Gray too. They've all been playing. Like, this is what we're talking about. Like, they are a team full of players that are willing to step up on their own and let the numbers speak for themselves. So that's really the difference between Vegas and then the rest of the league. So
yeah, for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude this episode. Thank you for tuning in. Be tuned in for future episodes. We'll be back next week. We'll be tuned in for the other future content on the channel. Please like, comment, subscribe. I will leave Brendan's Twitter in the description below. Please follow him and with his work and what he does for the Seattle Storm. Again, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.
I know that loving me wasn't always easy. And you felt like walking away when you couldn't see me. Felt like all your hope was gone. But I'm right here on bended knee. Please be my wife and stay with me. Please take my hand through stormy weather. We will stay, yeah. Let me be the one to. When you need me, I'll be there. Just to let you know that I really, 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 really do care. Yeah. Baby, I promise. Baby, I promise. I'll be right here for you. No matter the problem. No matter the problem, baby. I'll be by your side. 'Cause the love we share can never be denied.
The following.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you. For everything you do.